Good evening, guys. How you doing? I'm good.
Hey, how's Charles doing?
I'm doing okay.
Oh, great. Fabulous. Well, I have I didn't fall asleep. That's a good sign. Hi, Roy.
Hi,
How's it going?
good.
Well,
Hey, Roy, good to see you.
yeah. I've kind of thought about I've got a pretty good idea on Tim's dream, but why don't maybe we could maybe Carl, if you could give us a dream, then Charles could give us a dream, and
Sure.
get
Well, I don't know if you saw, I sent you another dream, the
Oh,
one I had last night. I don't remember all of
okay.
it, but
Yeah,
when you,
just a second. I didn't know that it was in there. I mean, it's kind of like Jack and Jill rolling down the hill today. So just a
yeah.
second. Let me look here.
Do you want me to go in the room so you can see it?
All right. Let's see here.
Do you want me to go in?
Unfortunately, I have this day job. So, okay, let me look here. Just a second here. Oh, Kevin's here. Just a second. Can't believe it when I don't see people. All right, so here I'm going to the inbox. And let's see. Oh, Roy's got something on Sarah's stream too. I am so sorry I didn't read these things. I'm ridiculous. Okay, let's see. David O'Donoghue. Okay, let's see here. God, okay, here we go. All right, so you have the dream. Okay, this is the new one. Okay, I think I might recall the dream as follows. Okay, I'm going to see if I can copy this in the thing. Yeah, I've been having a lot of dreams lately. I was just going through some of mine because, I've had some. I have these journals, and I keep going through them, and I keep forgetting which one I was working on, and I've been getting these messages that I'm being neglectful. It says it's in the journals, and then there's another one that says, uh, "Are you chain drawing? I know all about this." And then it says, "You ain't the game." I mean, those are just these voices that come to me. So I know I'm neglecting my dreams, and I haven't had very good active imaginations. I think I need to. Okay, let's see. Now, let's see. It says, how much do we got there? It's moving around the. Okay. Just a second. Hi, Gary, Kevin. Okay, we're just going to start on Carl's dream here. Okay, let's see. Moving around the. Okay, let's see here. All right. Well, anyway, I don't know where does it end it with the moving around the. Then I'm talking the owner of the dam. Let's see. Well, let me go like this, and that way I think I'll get it.
Let me see.
Okay. Here we go. I got it. I'm not sure this is all of it, but I think I might have double.
Not moving around. I thought it would be working one location, not moving around to multiple dams throughout the.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So we'll start on this one here. Okay. And why don't you just go through it, and then we will get started on it. And Charles, you're supposed to be looking up a dream too. So.
Okay, so
ready.
I know there was more to the dream, but a lot of it's really fuzzy. I recall being in Western Maine around Sunday River ski area. I remember saying something like that to somebody who I was talking to, that's where I was. I think I might have had like a sledding, some sort of outdoor activity enterprise I was doing, or I'm not sure. I do have a lot of these dreams where I'm kind of in the mountains, not like really high up, but like Appalachian level maybe, or just in the hills anyway. Um, and then I recall being in a building and signing up for military service along with some other young people. Well, I'm not young anymore, but some other people were signing up for military service. And I remember there were several windows in it, and they were for like the National Guard or Air National Guard. And I was like, oh, do I want to sign up for that too? And the next thing I know, I've never been gung ho about joining the military. So, next thing I know, I'm out. I've taken a job as some sort of electrical technician on a hydroelectric dam. And I don't know anything about electricity really, except, needs to have a ground. And so I go to this dam, and I'm not really that nervous, even though I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not confident either, though. But it's definitely not. Doesn't mirror how nervous I would be if I was trying to BS my way in a real world situation. And I'm looking at the guts of the dam, and it's generators and big house turbines and some sort of ceramic insulators and whatnot. And then I recall looking at various diagrams of just electrical circuitry and how things need to be wired up to run correctly, and all on different sheets of paper. And then I recall I was meeting with the owner of the dam, who was a lady about my age, and her telling me that I would be working at multiple dams. And I was like, well, I just signed up to work at this dam. And she's like, well, no, you got to go to all these different, because I own all these different dams, and that's what you do. So, and that's the last thing I remember of the dream.
Well, it's pretty beautiful. I don't know, Kevin, do you remember Edward Edinger had a dream about a hydroelectric power plant one time that he was working at? I don't know if you remember that dream or read about it.
I have read about it, but I don't quite remember.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was about, but it was okay. Anyway, so there's two signs. Hi, Sarah, too. Oh wait, Ivan is here, and so is Dawn. Gonna keep an eye. Hi, Ivan. We're just getting started on a dream here. And Dawn. Let me put this in. See if I can put it in again into the text. Okay. This is just a beautiful dream. I really we can get it all in here. Let me see. Copy. Okay, put it in the text. There we go. And then, so there's some of this is going to be a little bit duplicative. Okay. All right. Okay, first you're in the mountains, and then, okay. All right, and then later, okay. Well, I don't know. Let me just start anywhere here. Let's see. Yeah, here later. This is a little bit duplicative, but let me put that in there. Okay. All right, so here we go. Okay, so it starts out that let's just go on there's 3 acts really. First, you're in Northwest Maine, so you're in the wilderness. This is a rooted representative of the unconscious, one that is, and it's also in ancient mountains. That's one thing about the Appalachians. They're very ancient, and that's also one. Norway, since it never really joined in the tectonic plates, it's has some of the oldest mountains in the world that are like 3 billion years old, where the Rocky Mountains formed when the California plate hit the North American plate, like the Himalayas formed when the Indian subcontinent hit South Asia, so, but the Appalachians and I think that's the Adirondacks, I think it is, in Maine, isn't that right?
I think Adirondacks are northern New York.
Okay.
But yeah, Appalachians go end up in northern Maine.
Yeah. Well, anyway, anyway, it's a very old mountains, low, so they tend to be covered with trees, and so it's this mountainous area of trees. There's no real rocky peaks, not a lot of them anyway, So anyway, that's that you're there for some activity in the unconscious, and it's very vague. Okay. Then you move into the second part of the building, where you're signing up for some collective activity, and there's for some you're joining some collective, and it has there are many options here, and you're not sure which one to choose, and it's not really been something you ever wanted to do. So both of these, even though one will always lead to the other, they don't really have a conclusion or an end. So, but the second one follows from the first one, and the third one follows from the second one. And how, we don't know yet. Okay. So now the third part is the punchline of the whole thing. Okay. So now you are a technician, electrical technician. And this is why I was trying to remember the dream that Edinger had about a hydroelectric dam. But it's a power plant, driven by the unconscious. Very powerful power plant that is driven by the energy of the unconscious. And you're going to be a technician, okay? A technician at a place that generates energy from the just the inertia of the unconscious, and and these are owned by the feminine or by the anima, so they're owned by the feminine presence within you. Could be the anima or the great mother, but it's some feminine aspect. The great mother would represent a elemental, eternal feminine, and the anima would represent a transformational feminine. So I'm kind of leaning towards the latter. But it's just funny that you're just a technician here. You're a technician at the place where the unconscious is powering the dynamos of the psyche, So, and you are going to be someone who works at the place where the unconscious powers the dynamism, let's say that, of the psyche. Okay, that's first stab. So why don't we just go, Charles? What do you have to say about that?
I know what dream what you were talking about, but isn't it Robert Johnson that had the?
Yes, I think you are. Yeah. You are correct. Yeah. It is Robert Johnson,
and that was like it from studying that dream, or hearing about it or whatever. That was like a monumental dream in his life.
Yes,
it was like his master work to figure out this hydroelectric dam, in his dream life. And it was like the highest goal. And yeah, I would agree that it is like symbolizes like achieving a way to actually harness energy from the unconscious, but like to have a fruitful relationship with it, and to be able to like You know, so it doesn't, so that the water of the unconscious isn't just sort of just flowing untapped.
Yes, it
You know,
has a path that it's going to follow and create energy rather than like. Go ahead. What you? That's perfect.
oh no, I mean that's what I think. The idea of like signing up for like the military. You said you're someone that in outer life is not someone that's necessarily keen on that idea.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Nothing against the military, but I wouldn't want to be in the military.
Well, I don't know. It's like, you know, in the dream, you gotta sign up for a job, and it's an unlikely one, and you know, harnessing energy from the unconscious, if you want to call it that. You know, it's an unlikely job. It's something that I guess the unconscious is trying to tell you that you still have a attitude towards it, to where it's like not that you lean away from it, but it's like you don't quite see yourself doing it yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting to have that hydroelectric dam in your dream, because yeah, Robert Johnson had that dream, and it was like
Yeah,
a
when
huge dream in his life.
Yeah, and I just wished I could remember it. But anyway, Roy, do you have any comments? Oh, wait, Tim's here. Are you ready, Roy?
Oh, okay. No, not really. Like the military is kind of masculine, kind of Saturn, kind of masculine. Electricity is definitely masculine. Uranus, masculine. But the water's feminine. It's very feminine. So to have a female own this thing that he's working for, this company that he's working for, is kind of bizarre, because there's so much masculine there, interfacing with so much masculine.
Yeah, the dynamo. I mean,
Yes.
the activity of the dynamo is. Go ahead.
It sounds like a really difficult place to be, and then on top of that, the owner's saying he has to move around, which he doesn't seem like he's too much into. He's going to have to give us some context on this. I mean, how do you get yourself in such a difficult position? I mean, a very specialized person to do this, and between the masculine and the feminine, and be in such a pivotal position. I can't imagine. I have dreams of being a plumber all the time. I do tons of plumbing jobs, and electricity is very different. So it's definitely out of my realm.
Yeah, that's a very important fact, that we're just going to be bullshitting our way through this very important responsibility. And so the ego is not really adequate to the task at this point, but it's, it's going to be, it's going to be sink or swim. But anyway, Gary, what do you think?
Thanks, Roy.
Yeah, thank you, Roy.
Well, I thought the National Guard was kind of interesting, because, this is saying that you need to be, you can't be too egocentric. You have to be in service, and the National Guard, they specifically only get called out when, conditions are such that, you are needed. And so, this is very much a dream of saying you will need to be in service, and you cannot be egocentric, because, his job is as a technician. He's not the leader. So again, not, be careful with the egocentricity. And then, he has the idea that, oh, I will just be in one fixed way. And the anima, or the boss, tells him that no, this type of work or service will be taking place at a multitude of places. And so again, it's a warning to the ego that, you know, you can't pretend to be the dominant one here. You have to be in service. And in being in service, you have to be willing to work in different ways in different places.
Be adaptable.
Right.
And there's this
Thank you,
aspect
sir.
of that's completely unending. You know, my house has many mansions, you know, and so it's this kind of an unending a task that's not finite. You know, I mean, it overwhelms the ego. But what's really is amazing is if it's like the Hoover Dam, you know, holding back this huge area, and then it's like Charles says, it is then being funneled to power the dynamo or the dynamism of a psychic process, you know, of transformation, because it's owned by the anima. So, I mean, it is just a beautiful image, you know. And if we just, I'll just take one more stab at trying in the wilderness, there for some reason, and then ergo, the ego is then after this, the mountains aren't high enough, maybe. The ego is going to join a collective, maybe, but no, that's not the occupation. And you know, this might represent too the churches that you're joining, you know, and stuff, rather than doing the individual path, you know, which is this thing over here. It's just this wonderful image of suddenly I'm showing up at this hydroelectric power plant, and the anima owns many of these.
I have a vague recollection. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a vague recollection in the dream, but it's not clear if somebody pestering me or trying to fight me after I leave the building regarding the military service.
Yeah.
And I'm just swatting them off, but they're not overpowering me. And then next thing I know, I have a job as a electrical technician.
Well, I mean, what it would say is that the collective life isn't for you. I mean, it's kind of showing two inadequate attempts, and then the third one is one that we're inadequate. You know, what do you think, Ivan? You have any comments?
Yes, I had to find my unmute button. So it seems to me that in this dream, you're taking on these rather large responsibilities, but it's not serious. You have no sense of the obligation that these things mean. And so like the National Guard, the military, or even like, you know, I imagine an electrical engineer at a hydroelectric dam is a very serious responsibility. And yet in this dream, you really know nothing about these subjects, nor do you seem to care that you don't know anything about these. And it doesn't seem that you take these obligations very seriously. And it almost seems like, to me, like if I had this dream, it would be a message to me that I am overextending myself and not taking the things that I've taken on seriously or giving them enough attention.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, Ivan. It really is a very important aspect here of the somewhat apathetic, not apathetic, but sort of just not realizing how grave the consequences are of these activities. Yeah. Tim, do you have any comments? Have you caught up to speed or not, do you think?
Well, not quite, but
yeah.
I love the idea of the image of the hydroelectric dam. It's just such a rich image. If this was mine, you know, I'd be thinking about the anima has all of this power to transform the unconscious into something usable. And
Yeah, and concentrating it, you know.
and just listening to you guys, it's I think you're really illuminating it well. But carry on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Sorry,
I mean,
I
the
was in
constant.
a meeting, so I was.
Yeah, and I have some further thoughts about your dream when we're done with this. Maybe we'll jump into Charles is going to have one too. But anyway, it's just the fact that the anima owns the unconscious, and she has it backing her in this huge reservoir, you know, and she can concentrate its flow at one point to create the most powerful engine of transformation. You know, I mean, it's just such a beautiful image. And like we were saying, Robert Johnson had this very same dream, and I was trying to find the dream while we were talking, but I couldn't. How about you, Kevin? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't see a. Hello?
Yeah, you're there. We can hear you. You're not moving very well video wise.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just cut off my video.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I don't see a I don't see a I don't know if you said I don't see a Christian mind. I know because you talk about often about religious experience or certain experiences and so on. And for me this is not a Christian mind, you know. This is not because it deals with harnessing energy and working on that, and the feminine says there's going to be more of them. What I see is more like a chakra system of belief or some sort. So I don't know what's your relationship to that. Another thing with military, which is different from police just takes care of certain areas, but military takes care of the country. So I don't know why you would take such a role of wanting to defend or wanting to do that. That could be I don't know how violent your unconscious is, but in this dream it's not really violent. It doesn't overpower you too much, but nevertheless the energy is still there in, you know, as a dam and electricity. Yes, I really agree with Roy about there is the feminine and the masculine aspect in that new job you're taking. You know, you start in the mountain, which is a bit high up, but then you really harness that natural energy force. And I also believe Ivan had a really good point about your role in this. You know, it's still somewhat ambiguous, not quite serious, but nevertheless, Psyche has given you it. So this is, I would say, probably a question of perhaps, roles and it's your individuation path has not ended. It's more dams to come. Your feminine is taking you on it.
Thank you.
That's very helpful. You know what I'm saying is first we're confronted with nature. And so what do we do when we're confronted with nature? I need to go into a very pedestrian collective group, you know. And no. This nature, its message to you is this very elemental way of transformation. And see, what it looks like to me, and it's so unusual, is that Eros is channeling the unconscious through logos. You know, in other words, she's taking the undifferentiated unconscious and she's having logos as her servant. This is the opposite of Jung with Salome. She's having her servant convert it into directed psychic energy, you know, through its machinery and its ability to direct it in a meaningful way. See, that the difference between eros and logos is that logos has no movement or any content. All it can do is take the content that the anima or the feminine provides or nature provides, and to find meaning in it and orientation, you know. And so it really has that comes from Roy and Kevin about the masculine aspect of this. Sarah, why don't you see if your audio works and give
Can you hear
us
me?
Yes, sure.
Cool. So I just can't stop thinking about the dam. Like I can't get over the dam and the image of the dam and the crazy amount of water that's held back by the dam, which makes me think of like a blockage. It reminds me of a blockage. And like you guys were saying, the military reminds me, of course, of the masculine, and the blockage with the water reminds me of the feminine. So I can't get my head away from thinking maybe the masculine is coming in to help protect the blockage from releasing that feminine energy. Like, but you don't seem too concerned about, trying to help protect that blockage, as much as they are, but maybe you're not taking it too serious because you're not as worried, but part of you is sending in the military to help protect that blockage and keep that feminine energy from coming through, from breaking through. And it's also owned by a woman. So they're right there, behind that dam, it's feminine that's behind it. That's what I get. I don't know. If it was my dream, that's what I would think.
Well, and Sarah, that's a wonderful addition, because without the dam and without this directed process of the hydroelectric, we would be flooded.
We flooded with these emotions.
Yes. Yeah. It just, the unconscious would just flood in and obliterate the ego. Now the ego is there. Now this is very similar to being at a school, enrolled in a course that you don't know what the topics are. You don't have the books. There's exams scheduled. You don't even know where the class is taking place, and yet you're enrolled in it. I mean, this is sort of a very common dream, and it has to do with ego consciousness cannot help you here.
Yeah.
So what it means is this. Now, see, in the second part of the dream, where we're going to join the collective, it's all about ego. It's about rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. We're going to go into the collective, and that's how we're going to figure things out and orient ourselves and be occupied. But you first have the vision of nature, and it's just this it's raw state, and then second, our reaction is, well, I'm going to orient myself in this collective so that the ego can be in control here, or somehow somebody's ego, maybe not mine, but maybe the authority. I mean, yeah, as much as I like the Buddha and Hinduism and Christianity and all of that stuff, that is not going to help you. It really isn't. I mean, it is a, you might be able to pull some things out of it, but the individual path is the real way of orienting. I mean, to join a collective, especially one that's so foreign to us, and, which usually involves, just some idea of, I mean, that's what one young, Joseph Campbell was telling somebody who was, saying mantras and stuff while he was supposed to be counseling her, and she was telling him that she had found these Asian religions, and that she wanted to find Satori, and he says, would you have any idea what that is? He says, no. He says, it's the elimination of ego. It's entering non-being, the realm of opposites, or where there are no opposites. And that's not what you're here to do, But I'm just saying, I'm saying the Buddhism is absolutely deliciously beautiful, But is this what the anima is asking us? Hey, why don't you join a ashram? She doesn't. She has no conception of an ashram. She wants you to be the empty vessel for the images that she gives you. Now,
it reminds me of the second dream I almost shared, actually, that what you're saying right now.
Yeah, well, anyway, that's my sort of diatribe against collective religion, and it's not really a diatribe, but I'm just saying that is this what the soul is asking of us to do? To join a church and if you really want to be a tree with leaves on both sides of it, you need to be a empty vessel with no presuppositions, no you're going there naked. That's what Jung says. You give up everything. You just go there, and the only thing you have there to hold on to is hope, and then you wait for the images to come, and then you try to form a symbol with them, and that's the way forward. I think that getting becoming that's kind of what the Joseph Campbell called the difference between kitten religion and monkey religion. In kitten religion, the mother cat takes you by the scruff of the neck and carries you around. But in monkey religion, you jump up on the back of the mother and ride her like a jockey. So, it's this more independent way. But I'm just saying, this is my only thing looking at this from a Jungian perspective, or not from a Jungian perspective. This way predates Jung. It goes back to Black Elk. It goes back to the cave painters. The society is informed by the dreams of individual members, not by any dogma. And that was really something that went really wrong with civilization, is when everything started to be written down in texts. Because remember, it used to be remembered by a bard who could sit there for 6 days reciting the sagas and not make one error, And so there was this oral tradition that would be added and added to. But when everything's written down, you can't change that, That's written, that's chiseled in stone. So don't change it. And that's your law. No, that's not my law. My law is my inner images. That is my root and my rhizome. And I can't flower without the instructions of the rhizome. So anyway, what it looks to me like is that there's a vision of nature. A response to it is to, well, maybe we should go into some collective organization and orient ourselves there in response to the great informing wisdom of nature. And the anima says, nope, you are to be a technician of the unconscious, of the release of the eros into meaning. And the dynamo of the what holds back the flood of the unconscious, so that we don't become schizophrenic, we become visionary, is You are to tend that. You're to be in service to it, to the service of symbol making, which is meaning making that is provided by the dynamo and that which holds back the flood of the unconscious. You know, let's see. Okay, all right. Charles has got a dream here too. Okay, let's hear everybody's concluding comments. I want to say a few things about Tim's dream, and then we'll do Charles. Go ahead, Roy or Charles. You're first, I guess. Just I'm going by the pictures.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think everyone covered it pretty dang well, honestly. I feel like this is a sort of dream that kind of describes the goal, kind of the overall, yeah, and that you're supposed to be in service to this. Yeah, that's I don't know. I think it was covered very well. So yeah.
Well, I think it'll be good to review it next time and see if anybody's incubated it a little bit more, including Carl. Roy, what do you think?
Just to throw in the angle that Carl's dream, the last one where the 10-foot girl and Carl gets up in her face, sort of, and she says, give me some space. Well, the anima could be, putting him on the spot. Okay, you think, you got it. Okay, deal with this. Deal with this energy and channel it. Putting him on the spot. I think he's got something going with the anima. Something big.
I have a lot of animal dreams too. The big theme with me.
Yeah, I think Gary, what about you? Do you have any comments?
Yeah, I think it needs to be painted, and you might get more out of it once you paint it.
Yeah, I mean, that's if we do the visions. Jung calls it the picture method, and he's going to talk about the picture method, of wholeness. Ivan, do you have any comments?
I don't think I have anything else to add.
Okay. How about you, Tim?
No, let's carry on.
Okay. Kevin or Sarah? Okay. And Dawn, of course, you're always welcome. I'm just trying to, you can do, you're always invited. I just don't want to, anyway. Okay, Carl, do you have any final comments on this? And then we'll talk a little bit about
I think it was covered really well. My gut feeling was, as far as the dam and whatnot, that I need to be journaling more regularly, like really paying attention to this, because I have a lot of unconscious, like, that seems to be, oftentimes I've backed away from it because I'm afraid, like, am I going to go nuts? Like, because it seems really it's really powerful sometimes. So I've like backed off. I mean, I don't know if possibly it's something at saying this is, this is all I think about really for the, you should be taking this all more seriously. I mean, I am listening. I listen to James Hollis books. I just listened to 2 of those and whatnot, but I think I've thought about going back to school. So I don't know if it's like, if you want to do this, you got to get serious. And just everything else everyone mentioned is, it all resonated with me. So,
Yeah, well, the one thing I'm saying about getting serious is for the ego to drop the reins of the horse.
I'm afraid I'll just lose my mind completely.
Okay. Now you do have a dam there that's holding back the flood.
I had some hypnagogic experience the other day, and then I was at church and I had a synchronistic experience. I had been talking to Sarah about 137, 138, and they I think we're in the age of 11 moving to 12, whatnot. And then I've been reading about the number 12 in Edinger's book about the apocalypse. I took some, well, I took some stuff for inflammation, which I don't usually take, and it's a kind of psychoactive Rick Simpson oil. So this is obviously part of it, but I like had hypnagogic experience in the middle of the night, like where I was half awake looking out the window and the sky was red, and I'd been having a dream of some sort of apocalypse thing. Then I have to go downstairs, and I'm like, oh, I hope I don't run into the dweller on the threshold down there, you know? And then I go to church, and I'm still kind of in the state where I'm fully conscious and I can do everything fine, but there's this feeling that I'm partially still in a dream state. And the guy sitting next to me in choir has his phone out and shows me, oh, this is from some fake news site, and says 138,000 votes found. Like 138, like, you know,
Yeah,
it's just kind of,
that's pretty amazing too. And we'll you know, it is an aspect. I mean, I think this is a very hopeful dream, you know,
yeah,
because there is a dam there that's going to hold back the flood, you know.
yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about it a little bit more next time. Let's kind of think about it, and I'll send the text out too, along with Charles' dream, and I'm wondering if Ivan and Gary can come up with a dream for next time too. You know, I think you guys are up. Tim, why don't we finish your dream? I just want to first mention it, just some thoughts I've had about it, because I just want to just sort of mention what I had about it. Well, first of all, you know, the idea of this iceberg is clearly a sign of the elemental self. I mean, it is clearly a sign of the, you know, when Young died, he just saw a great big round rock, you know, and it says, this will be a sign to you, a symbol to you of wholeness, you know. And so there is I mean, this is just my own opinion. Okay. To me, if I was having this dream, it's just absolutely is undeniably a sign of the very elemental center that's just absolutely awe-inspiring. And that's what I kind of connected it with the with the wilderness dream, which was also, remember, in the dream. I think this was in Gerhard Adler. It might have been Anna Marjula, where the woman has no maps. You know, I mean, in this place of the great wilderness, there's no maps there. Okay, now that's the first thing. Is this wonderful symbol of wholeness? You know, Young had in the Liverpool dream. He's walking through Liverpool, and he sees in the middle of a lake, in this dark, sooty night, an island with a tree on it with beautiful fruit, and it's the only illuminated thing in the whole center, and it's the sun shining on it through all this dark smog and soot. Okay, so anyway, this iceberg is a symbol of the self. Okay, then who do we encounter? We encounter what I'm really just thinking. We encounter the shadow and the anima. The shadow is saying, well, what in the hell does this have to do with anything? What does it mean? Can you explain this? You know, and we lose interest, because this is something that we have an inkling is completely beyond speech. There is no speech. Iceberg? You're going to explain an iceberg? You know, you're going to explain a symbol? You know, no, you're not going to. You're going to be in this is beyond all speech. You know, you're really looking sort of at the realm of the union of opposites. Okay. And so then and you're talking about something that has to do with some type of a theos issue, you know, so that you're saying, and I think if I was the anima, I mean, I'm just saying if I was the anima, I would say it has to do not with an outside reality. It has to do with your law and your principle. And will it ever be manifest in the outer world? Will you ever be the vehicle of this symbol in the outer world? You know, I mean, that's I think one of the reasons she's somewhat confrontational, and why the shadow is confrontational too, because he's such a beautiful symbol will obliterate the shadow. You know, I mean, at that point, ego empties itself and becomes a servant of the center, and so now there's no light of ego that casts the shadow anymore. You know, so it's sort of a distraction thing. Now, the one weakness in this, I think, is if the woman is indeed the anima. But anyway, did you do any dialogues with this dream, Tim?
Yeah, I took your suggestion and I did some active imagination with these two characters. And I really came to an amazing kind of revelation. I was talking, first of all, with the old man and, you know, saying, why do you insist on calling this theology? And he says, well, why else would a grown man be doing a project that seems like, you know, what you do in third grade? And I thought, my God, he's right. It's gotta have something to do with something bigger than just this diorama. And I came to the realization that during the conversation that the reason I'm compelled to go into this subject is that the ice world is something that is very difficult for a person like me to survive in, even though here I live in the frozen north. In the Arctic world, there's nothing but ice and sea. And if I was thrust into that position, I have this attitude that, man, it's going to try to kill me, and it probably would. But if I have the attitude of the natives and say, oh, this is a world full of resources, and all you have to do is realize that this environment is a place where you can not only survive, but you can thrive in this environment if you know what you're doing. So,
go ahead.
So I come out of it with this really enlarged feeling that we're in this newly dangerous world, and if we look at it with an attitude of, oh my God, it's going to kill us, it probably will. But here's my opportunity, and I think you're talking about the anima saying it doesn't have to do with the outside, it has to do with the inside, really rings true to me, because my inner life in a lot of ways is parallel to what's going on in the outer world. And, you know, there are these crises that are happening at the same time, and my inner world has a kind of frozen aspect to it that I think this really applies to. If I can learn how to approach it as a rich and totally adequate storehouse of treasures, then I can just learn how to thrive in that environment instead of wishing it was something else. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, I need to get back to the warm climate, I should be saying, okay, this is a rich world too, and I just need to learn how to unfold its mysteries. So
It's
that
very,
felt to me like just a total revelation.
well, it's so stark, so elemental, very much like the wilderness vision, you know. And you know, sometimes the psyche has to adopt whatever is most alien to the unconscious, so that we will recognize it is the other and something we must have a dialogue with. And in other words, it's trying to separate itself from ego so that you can see it's alive. It's not you. You know, if we get too confused that this is just an aspect of ourself that ego needs to subjugate and be in control of, that's not the psyche needs to make a clear message to us. No, you will never subjugate me. You know, you are my servant, not the, you know, the anima tells Jung, you're my projection. I'm not your projection. I'm just going to find out what little I can from your miserable life, and it'll help me after you're gone. You know, I mean, where the ego thinks it's the center of the solar system, it's not. It's a satellite of the solar system. So it's a very elemental. I mean, we've had at least two. I don't know all of your dreams, but I mean, we've had all these rich anima dreams where sometimes they're elevated, and we had the dream about the ego can't descend very well in two cases, and then we had this dream of a very elemental vision of the center. One there, it's not a snake, it's not a reindeer, it's not. It's devoid of all. Almost all landmarks, all rooted things, all earth, everything. It's just the unconscious and that unbelievably vast thing that shows just a little bit above its surface, and its depths are unfathomable. It's so huge. Now, this is a very impressive image. I mean, that's why I say if you could found a church who's had this on its stained glass windows and on its altar, I would go there because there's no words to describe it, you know. So if you're going to create a dogma about it or a theology about it, then we've missed the point, you know. And I think that's what the anima is trying to say. But let's just hear what everybody. I mean, I'm just saying this is absolutely profound dream. What do you think, Charles?
I still feel like this dream kind of stumps me. And I didn't have a whole lot to really say about it to begin with. I don't know, maybe it's highlighting a part of the psyche that is particularly unilluminated within me. So I don't know.
Well, it should. The one thing I would say is that you have this wonderful relationship with you're fascinated by the cosmos. So there's an aspect in you that has this elemental quality as well. I mean, you've brought that up several times. Just anything anybody can tell you about, quarks or quantum theory or whatever, I mean, is just suddenly you're in your own element, you know. I mean, I see that. I just love this elemental quality. Roy, what do you think?
Yeah, hearing Tim talk, and I think he talked a little bit Sunday, and it really reminds me of the artist, the vision of the artist, you know, whether he's stuck up on a snow rooftop or he's out there on some jagged rocks barefooted in the snow looking at the mountains, or some woman's beating him against a wall. you know, he's got this vision. Artists, they have this vision. It's very abstract. You know, you can't really explain it. It could be the self. It's something that's theos. Artists have that. You know, I know artists that you know are they're almost like possessed. I mean, it's just the real soul of an artist.
You know, if you ever read like The Myth of Meaning by Agnella Jaffe, there were artists that were deeply in the depths, and you know, two of them I know were Paul Klee and Walter Kandinsky, and the other one is Franz Marc. You know, I mean, those three artists were very knowledgeable of the fact that their art, I mean, they were not just conduits. They were using these as methods of orienting themselves in the inner world, you know, and not just letting them go out. So, and then they could just speak so eloquently of the inner world, you know. Gary, what do you think?
Well, I think the dialogue he had was just critical. And I was really glad to hear that. And I guess the only other thing that strikes me is that, you know, when he looks at the diorama and he works with the iceberg and he tilts it up, which is like raising an aspect, and it might be worthwhile dialoguing to see what it is that's being raised.
There's a certain aspect that he's trying to personify. You know what I was thinking of when he's doing that, because he had the same thing in the Wilderness Dream of the piece of rock that's standing up. It reminded me very much of the obelisk in what's it, 2001 Space Odyssey or something. You know, it just seemed it had this obelisk character where the unformed develops something that stands out in it, you know, that now we can have a dialogue with this. Before, we couldn't have a dialogue with just the vastness, but one aspect of it has come up.
And look at the rebellion it triggers amongst all the spectators too.
Yes.
I mean, it's just like, you know, it's
Yes.
like, well, you know, what are you doing? You know, and what does this mean? And I wonder if it doesn't have to do with that action.
Yeah, altering the unformed. Well, yeah, that definitely triggered everything. Carl, do you have any comments? Well, yeah, go ahead.
No, not really. I liked what Tim was saying. Sorry, I was spacing out a bit. Just kind of.
That's okay. Well, that was a pretty good dream you had.
Testing process fine, but yeah, I liked what Tim said though. Just I can't remember exactly what he's saying now, but you know, he likes to be in a warm climate and where things are comfortable. I think you were saying, but there is even in this cold, icy environment. You know, life's not ideal for him. I'm you know, it's usually not for most of us, but there's still a lot of art he can make there. He's still, you know, he's still an artist, and he can just do different things. I think basically is what he was saying. That made a lot of sense to me when I heard him say that.
You know, I heard someone one time who supposedly was knowledgeable about the angels, and that they had been near an angel one time. And they said that the air that surrounds an angel is like the air when it's 20 below zero and you breathe it in. I mean, there's this certain aspect. It is so cold, and you know, there's an aspect of it that it almost shocks the respiratory system because it's so cold. You know, and so I mean, it has a element of that it is in control. You know, and you, when you're in its environment, you need to adapt, not the other way around. You know, I don't know why I always remembered that, but it just seemed like it resonated with me. The air around the daemons is very is like at it's absolute zero, you know, and it's just almost impossible to breathe. What do you think, Kevin? Are you there, Kevin? I don't know. Okay, Kevin. I think I think he's having an internet problem. Oh, there he is. Are you there, Kevin? Well, why don't you see what's wrong and then? Oh, there you go. Okay, good.
Sure. I'm sorry. I had to change internet quickly because the one just finished and
Yes.
okay.
Okay, no problem.
I have so much to say about this. It's just a big force, very deep inside Tim, and I don't know. Imagine tapping into that force. How do you say this? What Carl says about art, there is a force there which he can tap to, but it's gonna be a very heavy one to do, like tapping into that and make an art of it. I don't know. I cannot see one without. It's just so heavy. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Like imagine, yeah, that would be. Very few people would be able to do that. In the same way, very few people would be able to read Nietzsche. Yeah. If you read Nietzsche, it's very brutal. You just want to close the book and throw it away because he's such a brutal. He doesn't have the ego, digestion of the ego. It's straight from the self. And tapping into that force, I would feel for Tim would be like that. It would be the total opposite of the warmth. It's gonna be a cold, brutal, but very forceful. Yeah, something like that.
That's a wonderful comment about Nietzsche, because you read Nietzsche, it kind of reminds me of that Gerhard der Narval. You know, it's the dialogue of someone who's about to hang himself. You know, so it has a certain morbid quality, which is alien to life force. You know, and when we're done, I would like to hear Tim's, if he has any ideas about what artwork could come out of this. Ivan, do you have any comments?
Excuse me. This is maybe a little rambling. So something struck me the other day that you said, Tim, where you were talking about all your art's kind of theological, right? And to me, I almost got this sense of like, whenever I create something that's actually worthwhile, it never really feels as though it came from me. It came from somewhere else, and I was a conduit for it. And it's kind of difficult to explain what that thing actually means in words. It has some meaning to you, but it's for me at least, it's oftentimes more of an emotional meaning or a feeling or a concept that I can't really describe in simple terms. And so these characters in your dream that are having this argument of like, well, what can you describe this simply? And to me, there seems to be this aspect of conflict in the dream of, if you could describe it simply, it wouldn't be a very meaningful piece of art. If you could just say it in a sentence, it wouldn't be very worthwhile. The aspect of needing to brood on it is what makes it meaningful, I think. So I thought there was a lot in the dream around that I just found really fascinating. I thought it was a really interesting dream.
Yeah, and you know, as an artist is a conduit, but I'm saying this symbol is just, you know, it obliterates that. You know, there's just this aspect of it is so profound that it is just has an obliterating quality. But I do want to hear about the what Tim would do with this if someone asked him to compose. You wanted to have him compose something about it. Sarah, do you have any thoughts about if this was your dream?
This dream is it's really deep, so it's hard for me to really process this one. Yeah. Also, I'm still processing Carl's dream. It takes me a long time to process things because I want to see how I feel about it, so it takes me a long time. But it's definitely the iceberg, is something very deep, and it's hard, and it's frozen, it's heavy. It's a heavy load. Yeah. It's definitely a dream that I'd have to go over and really think about for a while, I think.
Well, that's a very
It's heavy.
That's a very good description of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And yet it floats.
And let it float. Yeah. Yet it floats.
It floats in the water.
In the waters, feminine energy, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, it's unconscious. It's composed of the fluidity of the unconscious, but it's been crystallized into an almost diamond-like
hard as a rock.
Yes. Yeah.
It's going to be hard to get into. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's composed of the unconscious, but it's crystallized into almost a diamond, something like that. Okay, Tim, let's hear it.
Well,
what do you think?
I love what you're talking about, the diamond quality of the iceberg. Old ice does have this kind of purity and this kind of density that is really remarkable. I don't really understand it, but what I'm told is that that ice from an old iceberg or a glacier is actually more rich and more valuable than just new ice. And so I want to keep that image in mind. But also, Craig, what you said about the air around the angel, where did that come from?
I just heard someone that had, said that they had been with an angel, that was the air that surrounded them. I mean, that it's, when you go outside and it almost pains the nostrils when you breathe very, very cold air. He said that he had the same reaction when the angel.
That's a beautiful description, because oftentimes it feels to me that is the experience of coming into the presence of the angel. I've got some images that are floating in my head that I want to draw about that experience. So maybe I'll do that and share that next time.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my heart is just is very throbbing right now. It just has this, and I don't know. I mean, I'm just. Did you do a dialogue with the woman or not?
Yeah,
you did. Can you read that or give us?
Well, the gist of it was I was trying to find out why she was so volatile, so irritated, and what she said was, you guys, you're always talking about theory. You're always trying to explain things, but this is happening in your body. This is this is immediate, and it's about being alive. It's about being present on the earth in the moment. And she says, you get so seduced by the cognition of being able to understand something. And you get so proud of yourself for being able to say, oh, I've got this figured out. But it's not that. It's about being alive. And she was saying to me, you have to come alive in the moment, in your body. I thought, man, I get that. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Well, and that's what, if anything could obliterate, surface explanations that are pseudo religious or pseudo profound, it would be the iceberg. It obliterates all meaning. You know, I mean, there is no, I mean, in its presence, I mean, it's almost like a black hole, you know, where you go in there and everything just disappears. I mean, and so she's, I think, realizes this. Now, as far as the fact that it's very imminent and represents the life force center is obliterates all words. There's a saying that there are no words or systems of thought that can possibly contain boundless life. And you know, the greatest image I ever saw of this was in Shed's Aquarium in Chicago. They have this huge aquarium as you walk in there, and in it there are you know, floating sea turtles, and there's other slow fish, you know, going like this, floating around. But then almost in constant motion are, I think they call them dolphins, but they're not fish. I mean, not mammals. They're silvery with almost plates on them, and they're swimming around about 40 miles an hour in all of this thing. And that was what it just was so elementally profound expression of the just the inexhaustible energy of life, invincible. You know, I just thought about that there's no words, and this is who we are. You know, we're part of this. You know, and so all our words are a little ring a little hollow. You know, and anyway. I just say this to me, the greatness of this dream has something to do with the. I mean, I don't know. That's just me, but with the vision that you had, there's some that as the vision was so stark and so beyond words, so is this. You know, and anyway, we'll let's think about this and with Carl's dream. Oh, go ahead, Tim. And also, do you have any ideas about representing this
What?
in art?
Say that again.
Do you have any ideas about a representation of this and any art projects or anything?
Yeah, yeah. It's right on the edge, and I want to work on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, it's just like I think every one of your dreams has struck a very deep chord in me, anyway. Well,
Thanks for everybody's illumination.
Okay, well, Ivan and Gary, if you can come up with something next time, let's get started on Charles' dream, because I don't think we'll finish it. But Charles, why don't you start it and just read it to us?
All right.
Yeah.
I'm in a classroom with a bunch of children, and they are all sitting down reading. And it seems something like a Sunday school. I am having a mystical experience, and every time I draw near to it, a child becomes uncomfortable, gets up out of their chair, and leaves. This reoccurs. I keep almost having this mystical experience. I can feel it coming on. One of the little girls, her complaint was that she felt like she was being watched. And I draw close to this mystical experience many times so that eventually there are only a very few children left. And there's a bookshelf nearby. I pick up a book off the bookshelf entitled King David's Encounter with God. I grab it and put it on the table in front of the few children left, and I fold it open, and it actually becomes a video screen. And a video starts playing describing how video games should not be played because they cause the situation to become more and more chaotic and increase your chance of losing. It ends with saying that pure unconditional love is the goal or key.
Whew. This is absolutely beautiful. Well, let's just start out with the up the first three or four sentences, because they are crazy. I mean, that you are in a sort of a place of learning with the growing thing, and the growing thing is just quietly learning, you know, and the growing thing is trying to grow by learning, you know, and it seems to have a connection with the center, you know. It seems like a religious exercise. Okay. Now, meanwhile, we're having a personal experience of the mystical path. You know, one time, Wolfgang Pauli, or no, it was not Wolfgang Pauli, it was Eric Neumann, said Jung was not a mystic. He just had experiences. He was permeable to experiences that had been no one else has had, or it has been heretofore unexplained, or something. I forget what he says, but anyway, so you're having this experience of the depths in here, you know, with the growing thing, and it makes the growing thing, or these people who are in a sort of a, I don't know, we got to find out what the mystery is here, why the children feel uncomfortable, because the little girl tells us in a second, but they feel uncomfortable that you are having the you are being taken over by the unconscious. I mean, the unconscious is just flooding into your awareness. And this makes these young people in this kind of a collective place of learning nervous. And then one of the little girls says, she feels like she's being watched. Okay, so when the unconscious floods into our awareness, these very permeable beings can feel it, and they feel to some extent that it is threatening, you know, and they need to avoid it. So they need to leave. So the ego is, or this young feminine within us is saying that when your awareness is flooded, you know, where the ego is almost goes away by the unconscious, these other aspects of your awareness feel like they're being watched, or there's an aspect of it that this just makes us feel very uncomfortable. So I'm just sort of wandering around this yet. I don't think I'm where we need to be. So then it just keeps flooding, and then pretty soon there's very few ego aspects that are still there, or, you know, aspects of a different kind of awareness, one that learns by reading, you know. They're leaving. And then you pick up a book off the shelf called King David's Encounter with the Depths. Okay, who's King David? You know, he represents. Pardon me?
Not with the devil, with God.
Yeah. Well, yeah, King David would normally represent ego consciousness, could be God, but it's King David's. Now we don't know who King David is, but in a fairy tale, the king is usually the representative of the ruling principle, and the what we would call the depths is the thing that is not subject to the ruling principle, you know. Now, in the case of David, we might have a little bit of a different, because King David was I think, anointed by God to be the king. So I mean, Saul was the king, yet it had been prophesied that David would be the Messiah would descend from him, and he'd become the king. So there's that aspect, Tim. We can't avoid that. Okay. I grab the book, and you put it on the table in front of the few aspects of kind of a broken up ego awareness, sort of complexes within us, which have all left because they've been threatened by this flood of the unconscious coming in. And now we're going to read about King David's encounter with God. Now, whatever that means. I like Tim's idea. But you put it on the table in front of the few children left, you fold it open, and it becomes a screen. And a video starts playing describing how that video games should not be played because they cause the situation to become more and more chaotic and increase your chance of losing. Okay. We have to unpack this because this is a very profound statement using analogies, but I don't think we're going to get to it tonight, but we know it is one that is almost we could chisel on the top of our entrance to the sacred temple if we knew what it meant, and it ends with saying that pure unconditional love is the goal and the key that unlocks the door. Okay. Let's say avoiding what we needed to avoid. We need to avoid these things that play that what is a video game? I mean, it's a sort of an escapist thing, that the ego escapes into so it doesn't have to face itself. And when it comes, it just, things become more and more chaotic. So now I'm getting lost here, but I need to sit down with it and think about it. But it ends with that pure unconditional love is the goal and the key. Again, that's not really clear what that means, but what pure unconditional love is. I mean, I've heard of it, but what does it really mean to the psyche? I think it might be a little surprising what it really means. What do you think, Roy?
Okay, I'm sort of getting that Charles is having a mystical experience, and he's sort of in a collective situation where the young children, the young minds are being processed by the collective. And of course they're going to be being watched because, oh man, if nobody's paying attention to the monitors, when they see Charles, what he's doing, eyes are going to come out. So, and then it gets interesting with the Bible reference where there's a moral statement about video games. I wonder what the unconscious thinks about video games. Why are they ubiquitous and gaining in so much popularity? I mean, it's almost like a moral statement in which Charles makes a moral statement at the end, and the Bible has to do with moral statements. And I tie that into Julian James' book. I think it's The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. And he put a lot of work on this. And he says before civilizations, the brains, left and right brain, but the gods talked to humans. And a lot of the things that they said to them had to do with morals. I mean, does the unconscious have a moral conscience? I think it does. I really think it does. And I think when the gods were talking to humans a long time ago, that's the thing. That was it. They were interjecting this moral conscious thing that we don't have as humans because we're instinctual. You know, they're programming this in, the gods. I really believe that. I go with Julian James' theory, and this dream is so fascinating to me because I really believe the unconscious has a moral conscious. I really believe it has morals. Do people have a moral conscience? I think it's alien. It's not them. And when I think about the way that modern man is, it wants to get rid of all theology and gods and all that stuff. All the humans can have a moral conscience. I don't believe they can. I believe it came from the gods.
Yeah, well, the word itself comes from the gods. You know, the moral consciousness, and you know, there's an idea of the one thing Christianity brought to Rome. You know, Nero and all this other thing was a sense of well, you know, love your neighbor as yourself and all this kind of stuff. You know, there's that was the real ethos of Christianity. You know, was that we are one. You know, you see another person, and his separateness is just an illusion. You know, and anyway, Gary, what do you think?
Well, so, you know, the children in this are just fascinating because, you know, they kind of represent the ability to maybe hold on to the mystical experience because, you know, the mystical experience forms, the child goes away and it's gone. He doesn't have it. And then, you know, then we come with this book that's opened, and it's almost like a lecture on, wait, the reason these mystical experiences aren't, you know, finalizing is, you know, this issue, whether this is a literal statement or, you know, figurative, we don't know. I don't know, you know, how much Charles plays video games or whatever, but there's some process, there's some aspect which is interfering with that development that the children leaving represent.
Yeah, I mean, this all fits together, but I mean, it's going to take a while to figure it out. But the beautiful things is, you know, I feel like I'm being watched, and then there is a book called King David's Encounter with God, and then this statement about the video games that we're going to need to, you know, amplify, not as video games, but what does video games represent, and then the statement about love at the end. What do you think, Tim?
This is going to take a while to unpack,
Yes.
but my first thought had to do with the last line, unconditional love, and that makes me think about the setup. So Charles is engaged in this mystical experience, but he's experiencing it on a kind of a private level, which excludes the kids, the learning element. And it seems to me that maybe the message has to do something with opening up and being able to share. It'd be interesting to dialogue about what the advantage is of having the mystical experience as a private affair rather than as a maybe as a class project or something that includes the kids, because they're pissed off for some reason, or they feel discluded. They feel like they're being watched, like being watched is not an outreach. It's a kind of taking advantage.
Hmm.
And when somebody feels like they're being watched, it's kind of a prey response to a predator. So there's some aspect of opening up to the greater presence that seems to me the dream is trying to encourage.
Yeah, that's the threat of being watched. You know, if you really want to make a dog nervous, just stare at it. You know, I sometimes do that when a dog, I drive by a car that has dog in it, you know, it's not very nice, but I just turn and I just stare at the dog that's staring at me, and they don't like it. You know, it's just this aspect of when you're being watched, there's the aspect of why are these eyes trained on me? It's very threatening, you know. But the image of the mystical experience and the children leaving and this statement of the little girl are all just, God, they're so authentic and genuine. I don't know what they mean.
I feel like I could have had this dream. I got a lot on it. If you don't mind.
Yeah.
I guess I'd start at the end with the kids. I kind of feel like the mystical experience is, well, he's uncovering all these things that are becoming more and more conscious. But these little kids, these complexes that we all have, are like, well, here we are, and we need love, like to be healed, to grow up. And you're playing this game, you're uncovering more and more about yourself and learning more, but we're like growing antsy. Like the first thing I thought of were the left and right hand paths of the tree of knowledge or life. I can't remember what it is in Kabbalah. Left being power, the right being love, I guess, or the righteous path. But this kind of feels like a dream I would have had. I don't know. For some reason, I felt like I had to mention what I mentioned. I wrote a bunch more down, but
well, we'll cover it next time. It's a very eloquent statement from the unconscious and very genuine. Could we just hear from Kevin, Ivan, and Sarah, and then we'll resume on Wednesday, and hopefully, and then maybe after we're done, Ivan and Gary can come up with a dream. Kevin, do you have any comments?
Yeah, can I make a short comment? Yeah, it's interesting. It's a Sunday, Sunday school, or sun is God basically, in its primitive form. Another thing is that ego cannot do it by itself. You're taking a book, and so we need archetypal aspect in our life to guide our ego, and that's what religion is for. Without religion, humans would not be able to do the leap they did, to be honest. And you said poor unconditional love is the key. I think that's for everyone. I still have to meet a person that's not the healing aspect of everything, pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have now. I can say perhaps for next time. So,
It could be like feminine eros too. There's an aspect of that's what relatedness is the goal and key, or this bringing together of eros. Ivan, do you have any comments?
So I kind of inverted this a little bit in my head, just in this thought from the second part of it with the video games, where you are trying to reach this mystical experience, but these childish aspects, perhaps childish aspects of yourself, are preventing you from getting to this mystical experience. And this mystical experience is pure joy and love. And so you need to shed these childish aspects in order, like, I think you could count that as a video game too. And then I'm making no judgment of video games. I play them myself, but they're really like, I think you could group them as a childish sort of thing. So that was kind of my initial thought on the dream without thinking about it too much.
That is a real key, Ivan. I think these represent immature or childish ass responses. I think that's that you hit the nail on the head there. Sarah, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do actually. The mystical experience to me, I just keep thinking of transformation and how it's kind of going through. There's always a transformation after a mystical experience. So, with the children feeling uncomfortable, like somebody is watching, it reminds me of the super consciousness. Like maybe you're starting to become more conscious of these things that are maybe immature, but it's uncomfortable for you to process. But it's all about maybe transformation. The video games to me remind me of like searching for exterior information or stimulation. And it's interesting how it said that the games are too chaotic and will lead you astray, because I think maybe that's trying to tell you to go inward in order to find the answers that you're looking for, instead of, exterior stimulation. And then, of course, the pure unconditional love is the goal and the key. I think that is something that you already know for sure and that you're searching for, and what is pushing you towards this transformation or this mystical experience. So that's almost something that you already grasp, that you already know, that you're already reaching for, that's pulling your consciousness into a higher level, into the super consciousness, kind of leveling up if it's uncomfortable.
I was trying to stop the dog bark, but I think both of those are really going to help both you and Ivan, Sarah, and so we'll pick this up next time, and then hopefully we get something from Ivan and Gary. And if anybody has any further thoughts about either Tim or Carl's dream, well, we can talk about that too. But anyway, thanks everybody. We'll see you a day after tomorrow if you're still here.
I won't be able to make it till next Monday, but so
okay,
next Monday
that's
we can
fine.
pick up
Then
on
we'll
the
put
dream.
this one on hold.
Mhm.
Then is that okay, Charles?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. It'll give us some time to digest it.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody, especially Tim and Carl. That was beautiful.
All right, see everybody.
Yeah. See y'all later. Thank you.